I recently bought this Honda Fit, but it only came with one key. I ordered some key blanks online and had a local dealer cut them for me. Both new keys would work in the door, but neither one would turn the ignition cylinder. In this video I show how to modify your ignition cylinder so all the old keys work and the new keys will also function, while preserving the security of the ignition switch. This video may also be helpful if your key is starting to wear and give you trouble in the ignition. This will fix the wear without preventing future cut keys from working.
It slides in and out okay, but I got one more key. This goes to my other Fit, so it's sliding in, but it feels almost exactly the same. So first you're going to have to take out the 3 screws in the cover on the steering wheel. So I've removed the 3 screws from the clamshell. I'm going to pry right here with a screwdriver. Once you pry on it, the bottom will fall out, except for you have to pull the steering wheel adjuster lever, and then the top will also come right off. And we're going to come over here and we're going to remove these 2 screws and maybe that screw, and take off the antenna. So I had to unplug the 2 green connectors in this big ignition switch connector. They're all just push tabs. This one required a little prying to get to. There's a screw hole right there at the tip of my finger, and then this part comes off. Okay, at this point I took out the 2 screws that hold the wiper stalk in. I unplugged that and I pulled this big wire out of this loop. Now the wiper stalk will slide out, and that gives access to the final screw. You'll probably need a stubby screwdriver. I ended up using a ratchet and this contraption. So now this pulls off. You're left with the lock. There's a roll pin right here, and that needs to be removed to pull the cylinder out. I'm gonna try to show what worked for me. I'm actually thinking of just drilling this hole a little bit larger, grabbing it with a pair of needle nose pliers, but they actually, a lot of people will drill in from here, so I'll try that first. They're the locksmiths after all. So at this point I'm going to drill into the side of this and try to intersect with the roll pin, and then we're going to pry it out. So as soon as you get the roll pin out of the hole, the lock cylinder will pop out like this. It's spring loaded. I was using, actually, that's the wrong one. So I was using a finish nail and a screwdriver to work it out. So I'd push hard and I'd pivot the nail, and eventually, let's see if I can grab it. So eventually the roll pin came out. I have a feeling it'll be fine when I put it back in, but if not, I'm sure I can find something to put in. So at this point, you'll need a key. I don't even know if it needs to be a working key. This is a key to my other Fit. Guess not. So this is the key that doesn't work, and that also removes it. So we're going to bring that inside and we'll see what happens. So the ignition cylinder slides through, and there's another roll pin that's right here. I'm not sure if it's possible because I didn't try it without a working key, but I turned with the working key. Normally the roll pin lines up with this. It's not very long, so it might work, but it's probably too long. Anyway, I turned it with the working key and used my finish nail again to drive out the roll pin. So at this point the collar comes off. It's keyed, so there's only one way to go, so that's good. And then it should slide out the other side. And it does. So we have the working key in here, ready to go.
So this is the working key inside the ignition cylinder, and you can see that all the pins are down below the surface of the cylinder. That's what allows the cylinder to rotate. So this is the non-working key, and you can see a couple of the pins stick out just a little bit past the edge of the cylinder, and that will keep it from turning when it's in the car.
So you can see that this pin is up just a little bit. The yellow one has already been filed down, so you pull out the key and then you pull out the pin. Careful not to lose all of them. And then you take the top of the pin, and I just have a file. I know this isn't how you use the file, but just take a little bit. Off the top, and then you put it back where it came from. And now when you insert the key, a lot of times you have to squeeze it. Now that pin is down below the profile of the lock, and you can see that I've done the 3 on this side, and then I've done the ones that stick up on this side. So at this point, my key should work. Nothing's sticking up, and so I should be able to reassemble it. So you slide that in and you put the collar on with the roll pin. So now we're going to reassemble. You just have to lift the little arm, and that'll get this through. And then you're going to throw your collar on there. It only goes one way. Remember, the roll pin goes on the top. So you have the hole for the roll pin right there. And you're gonna stick your roll pin in the hole, and then you're gonna probably tap it to and then we're gonna grab our nail, shove it in, and it should be about even on both sides. And then this should be ready to go back into the car. So you gotta push it in the whole assembly until it's turning, but it won't turn on the car because the ignition switch is unplugged. So that's the original key that worked. So that's good that the original key works. This is one of the replacement keys. It now turns it. And then this is the other replacement key. That turns it. Oh, apparently pulls it out with it. Oh boy. And then this is the other Honda Fit key that I have. And that doesn't turn out, so It's still got some security left in it. So I'm gonna put on the little roll pin on this finishing nail, and I'm gonna shove it up there. Try not to lose it. So it's started. And then I should just have to shove that in the rest of the way. There we go. So the hard part is going to be that this needs to be held in. Let's see if we can wide angle this. So I'm going to have to stick the nail in the end of the roll pin. We're going to have to push the ignition cylinder in. And I'm going to have to push the roll pin in. So it started in there. We're going to grab our hammer pliers. And the ignition cylinder is no longer popping out, but we're gonna give it a couple more good whacks. And it looks to be, the roll pin looks to be about the same depth as before down in there. And you don't actually have to do anything with the hole in the side because that's covered up. And so the lock cylinder is in there. Now it's time to reassemble. So, but remember correctly, this goes on first. It's got the pin and the butt screw on the back. Next up, we're gonna slide on, I assume that's a transponder receiver or transceiver. So we got our 2 screws on the front. So yeah, 1 screw underneath on the back. It's kind of over here. That's the back side of it. This step, we're gonna take our windshield wiper stock, and that slides in. And then you got 2 longer screws that go in there. So the windshield wiper stock is in there. So we're gonna come up here and we're gonna plug in that. And then we're gonna come down underneath. Gonna plug in that. I'm gonna plug in that. And then we're gonna plug in the big boy, the brown connector. Okay, so at this point, the car should work. So the original key still works, which means that we're no worse than we were. So one of the new keys works. I don't think I have my second transponder out here. So we're gonna, which one was that? So that was the cut key, and this is the one I tried soldering the end on. And that one turns it. So all my keys now start my car. And they all already unlock the door, so that's good. It's because the wiring harness is not in its clip right here. Make sure you put that wiring harness back into its clip. Then we're gonna Try again. It basically falls into place. When you're putting it together, this hook in the back goes through the loops, and that'll make it easier for you. And then at this point, you just have to put the 3 screws back into their holes. And then you have the satisfaction of your newly cut keys working in your ignition like they should.